Jake Martinez stared at the flashing red lights on his control panel. Nothing made sense anymore. The navigation system showed error messages he had never seen before. His cargo ship, the Lucky Strike, was spinning slowly through space like a broken toy. "Come on, baby," Jake said to his ship. He had been flying cargo runs for 5 years. He knew every bolt and wire in the Lucky Strike. But today, everything was going wrong. The trouble started 3 hours ago when he jumped out of hyperspace. The computer said he was in the right place, but the stars looked all wrong. No trade routes, no space stations. Just empty space and a small green planet that was not on any of his maps. Jake tried to restart the navigation computer. The screen went black, then showed more error messages. His hands started to sweat. He was lost in space with no way to call for help. The Lucky Strike shook hard. Jake looked at his instruments. The ship was falling toward the green planet. The engines were not responding. He tried to fire the thrusters, but nothing happened. "Well, this is just great," Jake said. He strapped himself into his chair and prepared for a crash landing. The ship hit the planet's atmosphere with a loud roar. Jake felt like he was being pressed into his seat by a giant hand. The Lucky Strike bounced and rolled through thick clouds. Green jungle rushed up to meet him through the front window. Jake closed his eyes and hoped for the best. The Lucky Strike hit the ground with a sound like thunder. Jake's head snapped forward, then back. The ship slid through tall trees and thick bushes for what felt like forever. Finally, it stopped. Jake opened his eyes. He was alive. The ship was tilted to one side, but it was in one piece. Through the cracked window, he could see alien plants and flowers in colors he had never seen before. 2 small suns hung in a purple sky. Jake unbuckled his straps and stood up slowly. His head hurt, but nothing seemed broken. He walked to the back of the ship to check his cargo. The containers had shifted, but they looked okay. He was carrying medical supplies to a mining colony. The miners would have to wait a little longer. Jake opened the ship's door and stepped outside. The air smelled sweet, like flowers and rain. It was warm, but not too hot. He could breathe without his suit, which was good news. The bad news was that he had no idea where he was. The Lucky Strike had left a long scar in the jungle floor. One of the engines was smoking, but it did not look like it would catch fire. Jake walked around his ship, checking for damage. The hull was dented in several places. The left landing gear was bent. But the most important parts looked okay. Jake pulled out his repair kit and started working. He fixed what he could, but the navigation system was completely dead. The communication array was bent and broken. He could not call for help, and he could not figure out where he was. As the 2 suns started to set, Jake realized he would have to spend the night on this strange planet. He gathered some food and water from his emergency supplies. He found a flat spot next to his ship and rolled out his sleeping bag. The jungle was full of strange sounds. Alien birds called to each other in the trees. Something that sounded like music came from deep in the forest. Jake had his blaster ready, but nothing dangerous seemed to be nearby. Jake ate a cold dinner and watched the alien stars come out. He had never seen a sky like this. 3 small moons hung overhead, casting silver light on the jungle. The stars were bright and close, like tiny diamonds scattered across dark cloth. "Tomorrow I'll fix the communications," Jake said to himself. "Someone will come looking for me. The cargo company will send a rescue ship." But Jake knew that might take weeks. The Lucky Strike was not due at the mining colony for another 10 days. It might be longer before anyone noticed he was missing. Jake zipped up his sleeping bag and closed his eyes. The alien sounds of the jungle slowly faded as he fell asleep. His last thought was that at least the planet seemed peaceful. Nothing had tried to eat him yet. Jake slept deeply after his long day. He dreamed of home, of Earth and blue skies and familiar stars. He dreamed of his small apartment in Texas and the diner where he ate breakfast before every cargo run. But Jake's peaceful sleep would not last long. While he slept next to his broken ship under alien stars, something was watching him from the jungle. Several somethings, in fact. They had been following the trail of his crashed ship for hours. They moved quietly through the trees, studying the strange metal object and the even stranger creature sleeping beside it. They had never seen anything like Jake before. They whispered to each other in their own language, making plans. Jake had no way of knowing that he had just become the most valuable prize in the galaxy. Jake woke up slowly. Something was wrong. The ground under him felt hard and smooth, not like the soft jungle floor where he had gone to sleep. The air smelled different too. Instead of sweet flowers, it smelled like metal and ozone. Jake opened his eyes and sat up quickly. He was not next to his ship anymore. He was sitting in the middle of a huge arena made of blue crystal. The walls rose up around him like a giant bowl. Thousands of creatures filled the seats, all staring down at him. "What the hell?" Jake said, jumping to his feet. The crowd made noise like thunder. Jake had never heard so many different sounds at once. Some creatures roared, others chirped or whistled. A few made sounds like breaking glass. But they all seemed excited about something. Jake looked around the arena. He was standing on a circle of white stone in the center. Around him, spaced out in a larger circle, were 12 other beings. But these were not in the crowd. They were down on the arena floor with him, and they were all female. At least Jake thought they were female. It was hard to tell with some of them. The closest one looked almost human. She had blue skin and silver hair that moved by itself, like it was underwater. She wore a tight black outfit that looked like armor. When she saw Jake looking at her, she smiled. Her teeth were very white and very sharp. Next to her stood something that looked like a walking tree. It was green and brown, with bark-like skin and leaves growing from its arms. Jake could see eyes in the trunk, but it had no mouth that he could see. On his other side was a creature that made Jake step back. She was 7 feet tall and covered in red scales. Her arms were thick with muscle, and she had claws instead of fingernails. When she saw Jake move away, she laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. Jake turned in a slow circle, looking at all 12 beings. There was one that looked like she was made of living metal. Another seemed to be made of purple energy that crackled and sparked. One looked like a giant cat walking on 2 legs. Another had tentacles instead of arms and skin that changed colors. "Ladies and gentlemen," a loud voice boomed across the arena. Jake could not see who was talking, but the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Welcome to the 47th Annual Galactic Maidens Championship Battle Royale." The crowd roared again. Jake felt the sound in his chest like a bass drum. "This year's grand prize is truly special," the voice continued. "A genuine human male, captured from the outer rim. As you all know, humans are the rarest and most prized companions in the galaxy." Jake's mouth fell open. "Companion?" he said. "Prize? What are you talking about?" But the voice kept going. "These 12 warriors have earned the right to compete for this incredible treasure. They will face tests of strength, intelligence, and worthiness. The last one standing will win the right to keep the human as her personal companion and trophy." The blue-skinned woman near Jake licked her lips. The tree creature's leaves rustled like it was excited. The big red warrior cracked her knuckles, with sounds like breaking bones. "Hold on," Jake shouted, but his voice was lost in the crowd noise. "Let me introduce our competitors," the announcer said. A beam of light fell on the blue woman. "Zara Vex, from the warrior planet Drakmor. She has won 17 battles in single combat." Zara flexed her muscles and roared. The crowd loved it. The light moved to the tree creature. "Luna Greenbark, master engineer from the forest worlds. She builds weapons that can cut through solid steel." Luna's leaves glowed with soft green light. The light hit the red warrior. "Vera, Iron Scale, champion of the fighting pits. She has never lost a battle." Vera held up her clawed hands. The claws extended another 6 inches, looking sharp enough to cut diamond. The announcer went through all 12 competitors. Each one sounded more dangerous than the last. There was Nova Sparkfire, who could control electricity. There was Kira, Night Hunter, who could turn invisible. There was Zola Mindreader, who could see thoughts. When the introductions were done, the light fell on Jake. "And here is our prize, a genuine human from the legendary planet Earth. Look at that primitive charm. See how he stands on just 2 legs? Notice the way his skin changes color when he's afraid." Jake realized he was blushing. The crowd was laughing and pointing at him. He felt like an animal in a zoo. "I am not a prize," Jake shouted. "I'm a person. I have rights." This made the crowd laugh even louder. The blue woman Zara walked over to him. "Don't worry, little human," she said. Her voice sounded like music, but her teeth were still very sharp. "I will take good care of you when I win. You will have the best cage on my ship." "Cage?" Jake backed away from her. The tree woman, Luna, moved closer too. When she talked, her voice sounded like wind through leaves. "I will study you properly. I want to know how you work inside. It will only hurt, a little." The red warrior, Vera, laughed. "You are both thinking too small. A human male should be trained for battle. I will make him a warrior worthy of my clan." "He looks too soft for fighting," said Nova, the energy being. "But he will make a lovely decoration for my home." Jake looked around at all 12 of them. They were talking about him like he was not even there, like he was a pet they wanted to buy. "This is crazy," Jake said. "You can't just kidnap people and give them away as prizes." Zara tilted her head like a confused dog. "Kidnap? We found you sleeping in the jungle. You were not claimed by anyone. That makes you free salvage." "Salvage? I'm not salvage. I'm a human being." "Yes," Luna said, her leaves rustling with excitement. "A human being, the rarest kind of being in the galaxy. Most people think humans are just stories." Jake stared at her. "Stories? What do you mean, stories?" "Humans are legendary," Vera said. "They say humans can adapt to anything. They say humans never give up no matter how bad things get. They say humans can make friends with anyone, even their enemies. They say humans are the best companions in the universe," Zara added. "Loyal, clever, and entertaining. That is why you are so valuable." Jake's head was spinning. He was on some alien planet surrounded by 12 dangerous females who all wanted to keep him as a pet. And apparently, his entire species was considered to be mythical creatures. "The first challenge will begin in 1 hour," the announcer boomed. "Competitors, prepare yourselves. The battle for the human begins now." The crowd cheered. The 12 competitors started walking toward different doors around the arena. Some of them looked back at Jake and smiled. Those smiles did not make Jake feel any better. Jake was left alone in the middle of the arena. He sat down on the white stone and put his head in his hands. How had his simple cargo run turned into this nightmare? But as Jake sat there, his pilot's mind started working. These aliens thought humans were special. They thought humans were clever and adaptable. Maybe he could use that. Maybe being a legendary creature was not such a bad thing. Maybe he could find a way out of this mess after all. Jake sat in a small waiting room made of the same blue crystal as the arena. Through the clear walls, he could see the 12 competitors getting ready for their first challenge. Some were sharpening weapons. Others were doing stretching exercises. That looked impossible. A small floating robot brought Jake some food and water. The food looked strange, but it tasted okay, like chicken, but with a fruity flavor. Jake ate slowly, thinking hard about his situation. These aliens believed humans were special. They thought humans were smart and could adapt to anything. Jake needed to prove them right. But he also needed to be careful. If he seemed too valuable, they might never let him go. "Attention, competitors." The announcer's voice echoed through the waiting area. "The first challenge is about to begin." Jake was moved to a viewing area above the arena floor. He had a perfect view of everything. The crowd was even louder now. Thousands of different aliens were cheering and placing bets. The arena floor had changed. Now it looked like a maze made of tall metal walls. Jake could see openings and passages, but he could not figure out the pattern. "The intelligence challenge," the announcer boomed. "Each competitor must navigate the puzzle maze to reach the center. But beware. The maze changes every few minutes. Only the clever will survive." The 12 competitors entered the maze from different points around the edge. Jake watched them disappear into the metal passages. Zara, the blue-skinned warrior, chose to go straight through the walls. She punched and kicked the metal barriers, making her own path. It was impressive, but Jake could see it would not work for long. The maze was repairing itself behind her. Luna, the tree woman, moved differently. She put her hands on the walls and closed her eyes. Her leaves glowed softly. Jake realized she was feeling the vibrations in the metal, trying to sense the maze's pattern. Vera, the red-scaled fighter, was also using brute force, but she was smarter about it. She climbed up on top of the walls to get a better view, then jumped down when she spotted the right path. Nova, the energy being, had the most interesting approach. She could squeeze through cracks in the walls that the others could not fit through, but the electrical energy she gave off was setting off alarms in the maze. Jake watched all 12 competitors for several minutes. Some were making good progress. Others were getting lost or stuck. The maze shifted twice, causing several competitors to backtrack. Then Jake started to notice something the competitors had missed. The maze was not random. It had a pattern. The walls moved in a specific order, like a giant mechanical clock. Jake could see it from above, but the competitors inside could not. "Interesting," said a voice next to him. Jake turned and saw a tall alien sitting beside him. This one looked almost human, but her skin was silver and her eyes were completely black. She wore fancy clothes covered in jewels. "You can see the pattern, can't you?" The silver woman said. "Who are you?" Jake asked. "I am Empress Kiva. I sponsor this tournament." She smiled, but it did not look friendly. "You are the first being to notice the maze's sequence so quickly. Most people just see chaos." Jake looked back at the maze. It's like a puzzle box. The walls move in the same order every time, but you have to wait for the cycle to complete. "Exactly." Empress Kiva studied Jake carefully. "Tell me, human, what do you think of my competitors?" Jake was not sure why she was asking, but he answered honestly. "They're all strong and skilled, but they're only thinking about their own strengths. They're not looking at the bigger picture." "And what is the bigger picture?" Jake pointed at the maze. "Luna, the tree woman, has the right idea about feeling the vibrations, but she's only sensing the walls near her. If she worked with Nova, who can get through small spaces, they could map the whole maze together, but they are competitors. They want to win the prize." "That's the problem," Jake said. "They're so focused on beating each other, they're not solving the real puzzle." Empress Kiva laughed. It sounded like breaking crystal. "You truly are as clever as the legends say. No wonder you are so valuable." Down in the maze, Zara had reached a dead end. She was punching the walls in frustration. Vera was stuck on a section that kept shifting just as she was about to jump across. Luna was making steady progress, but very slowly. The first competitor to reach the center was Kira, the one who could turn invisible. She had been moving carefully and quietly, avoiding the other competitors and watching the walls carefully. When she appeared at the center platform, the crowd cheered, but the challenge was not over. The announcer explained that all 12 competitors had to reach the center before anyone could claim victory. This was about cooperation as much as individual skill. Jake watched Kira look around at the empty center platform. She could wait for the others, or she could go back and help them. After a moment, she disappeared again. A few minutes later, Jake saw something interesting. Kira reappeared next to Luna and started guiding her through a passage that Luna had missed. Then she vanished and appeared next to Vera, showing her a safe jumping point. "Why is she helping them?" Empress Kiva asked. She sounded genuinely curious. "Because she figured out what I figured out," Jake said. "This is not really about beating each other. It's about showing that you can work as a team." One by one, the competitors started reaching the center. Some were helped by Kira, others figured out their own paths. The last two to arrive were Zara, who was stubborn about doing things her own way, and a snake-like competitor named Scylla, who moved very slowly but never made mistakes. When all 12 competitors stood on the center platform, the crowd went crazy. The maze walls sank into the ground, leaving the arena floor flat again. "Impressive," the announcer said. "All 12 competitors have passed the intelligence challenge, but the true test begins now." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. If that was just the first challenge, what came next? Empress Kiva stood up from her seat. "Come, human. It is time for you to meet your potential owners properly. They're not going to own me, Jake said firmly. We shall see. Empress Kiva's smile was cold and sharp. The tournament has only just begun. Jake was escorted down to the arena floor. The 12 competitors were waiting for him, no longer in the heat of competition. Now they looked at him with curiosity and something that might have been respect. You watched us in the maze, Zara said. What did you think of our performance? Jake looked at each of them. I think you're all incredibly skilled, but I also think you work better together than apart. Luna's leaves rustled softly. That is an interesting observation. Most competitions are about proving individual superiority. Maybe, Jake said carefully. But the best teams are made up of individuals who know how to use each other's strengths. Vera laughed, but it was not a mean laugh. You speak like a battle commander, not a prize to be won. That's because I'm not a prize, Jake said. I'm a person, and where I come from, people work together to solve problems. The competitors looked at each other. Jake could see them thinking about what he had said. Maybe, just maybe, he was starting to change their minds about what this tournament was really about. But Jake had no idea that Empress Kiva was listening to every word, and her interest in him was growing stronger by the minute. Jake spent the night in a comfortable room near the arena. It had a soft bed, good food, and a window that showed the alien city beyond. Tall spires of crystal and metal reached toward the stars. Flying vehicles moved between the buildings like glowing insects. But Jake could not enjoy the view. He kept thinking about the tournament and the way Empress Kiva had looked at him. Something was not right about all this. Why was she so interested in what he thought about the competitors? A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Jake opened it to find Luna, the tree woman, standing in the hallway. Her bark-like skin looked silver in the moonlight. May I come in? She asked. Her voice still sounded like wind through leaves. Jake stepped aside to let her enter. What can I do for you? Luna moved to the window and looked out at the city. I have been thinking about what you said, about working together being better than working alone. And it made me curious, so I did some research. Luna turned to face him. I accessed the tournament's computer files. What I found troubles me. Jake sat down on the bed. What kind of files? Luna's leaves rustled nervously. Records of previous tournaments, lists of competitors who won prizes and then disappeared, and something else. Military recruitment files. Military files? Jake felt his stomach tighten. What do you mean? Every winner of this tournament for the past 10 years has been recruited into Empress Kiva's personal army. They are told it is a great honor. They are given high ranks and sent on special missions. Jake stood up quickly. What kind of missions? Conquest missions. Empress Kiva is building a fleet to invade other worlds. She uses these tournaments to find the strongest fighters and the smartest tacticians. Jake walked to the window. The beautiful city suddenly looked more like a military base. But why make it about winning me as a prize? Because beings fight harder when they think they are fighting for something valuable. And you, Jake Martinez, are the most valuable prize she could offer. Jake turned around. How do you know my name? Luna's leaves glowed softly. I also accessed the data from your ship. I know where you came from. I know about Earth. Jake felt cold suddenly. What about Earth? It is Empress Kiva's next target. She has been planning an invasion for months. Your ship's navigation data gave her the exact location. Jake sat down hard on the bed. His simple cargo run had not just gotten him kidnapped, it had put his entire planet in danger. How long do we have? Jake asked. The invasion fleet will launch when this tournament ends. 3 more days. Jake put his head in his hands. 3 days to save Earth. 3 days to stop a galactic empress and her army. 3 days to figure out how to get home and warn everyone. There might be a way, Luna said softly. Jake looked up. What way? The other competitors. I have been talking to some of them. They joined this tournament for different reasons. Zara wants to prove she is the strongest fighter in the galaxy. Vera seeks worthy opponents to test her skills against. Nova wants to study new forms of energy. And none of them want to be soldiers in someone else's army. If they knew the truth about what winning this tournament really means, they would not be happy. Jake stood up and started pacing. But would they believe us? And even if they did, what could we do? Kiva has an entire empire behind her. We could expose her during the tournament, in front of the galactic audience. If the whole galaxy knew what she was really doing, other worlds might band together to stop her. Jake thought about this. It was a long shot, but it might be their only chance. How do we get the others to listen? We tell them during the next challenge. Tomorrow is the combat trial. All 12 competitors will be fighting at the same time. If we can get them to stop fighting each other and start fighting the real enemy. It could work, Jake said. But it's dangerous. If Kiva figures out what we're doing, then we will all be in great danger. But Jake, your planet is full of billions of people. Is that not worth the risk? Jake looked out at the alien city again. Somewhere out there, a fleet was being prepared to attack his home. His friends, his family, everyone he had ever known was in danger. And it was partly his fault. You're right, Jake said. We have to try. But we'll need help from the others. I can talk to some of them. Kira, the invisible one, is already suspicious. She has noticed that previous tournament winners never seem to return home. And Vera respects strength, but she hates being deceived. Jake nodded. What about Zara? Zara is proud. If she learns that winning this tournament means becoming someone's soldier instead of a champion, she will be furious. They spent the next hour planning. Luna would talk to the competitors she trusted. Jake would try to gather more evidence from the tournament's computer systems. And tomorrow, during the combat trial, they would reveal the truth to everyone. As Luna prepared to leave, she paused at the door. Jake, there is something else you should know. What? The legends about humans are not just stories. I have studied your ship's computer files. Humans really are different from other species. You adapt faster. You learn quicker. You make allies where others make enemies. Jake shrugged. We're just people. No, Luna said seriously. You are more than that. In all my research, I have never found another species that can unite different races the way humans can. That is why you are so valuable. And that is why we might actually be able to stop Empress Kiva. After Luna left, Jake stood at the window for a long time. Tomorrow would be the most important day of his life. Not just for him, but for everyone on Earth. He thought about his small apartment back home, his job flying cargo between planets, his simple, quiet life. All of that seemed very far away now, but Jake was not the same person who had crashed on this planet. The scared cargo pilot was gone. In his place was someone who had learned that being human meant more than he ever realized. Tomorrow, he would find out if being human was enough to save the galaxy. The next morning came too soon. Jake was awakened by loud horns blowing across the city. The combat trial was about to begin. As he got dressed, Jake looked at himself in the mirror. He was still the same person on the outside. Average height, brown hair, brown eyes, nothing special to look at. But inside he felt different. He felt like he was finally becoming the person he was meant to be. Jake walked to the door of his room and opened it. Whatever happened today, he was ready. The final battle was about to begin. The arena had transformed overnight. Gone were the crystal walls and smooth floors. Now it looked like a war zone with broken buildings, twisted metal, and smoking craters. The crowd was bigger than ever, with beings from across the galaxy watching. The final challenge. Jake stood in a preparation chamber with the 12 competitors. They all wore combat gear now, and their weapons were real. The air was thick with tension. Listen to me, Jake said quietly. Before this fight begins, there's something you all need to know. Zara looked at him with her sharp blue eyes. What are you talking about, human? Luna stepped forward. Jake and I discovered something last night. This tournament is not what it seems. Explain, Vera demanded, her red scales gleaming in the light. Jake took a deep breath. The winner of this tournament doesn't just get to keep me as a prize. They get recruited into Empress Kiva's invasion army. All of you are being tested to become generals in a war fleet. Several of the competitors looked shocked. Others seemed suspicious. That is impossible, said Nova, crackling with purple energy. The Empress told us this was about proving our worth as warriors. It is, Jake said, but not the way you think. She's looking for the strongest fighters to help her conquer other worlds, including my home planet. Kira shimmered into visibility beside them. I wondered why previous winners never returned home. They all vanished after their victories. Because they became soldiers, Luna explained. Forced to fight in wars they never chose. Vera's claws extended with a sharp sound. You are saying we have been deceived? Yes, Jake said firmly, and in 2 days a fleet will launch to attack Earth. Billions of innocent people will die unless we stop it. The competitors looked at each other. Jake could see anger building in their faces. None of them liked being tricked. What do you want us to do? Asked Scylla, the snake-like warrior. Fight the real enemy, Jake said, not each other. Before anyone could respond, the chamber door opened. Empress Kiva walked in, followed by a dozen armed guards. Her silver skin seemed to glow with cold light. I hope you are all ready for the final challenge, she said smoothly. The audience is very excited. We know what you're really doing, Zara said, stepping forward. This tournament is just recruitment for your army. Empress Kiva's black eyes showed no surprise. Ah. Someone has been sharing secrets. She looked directly at Jake. I should have known the human would figure it out. Your species really is as clever as the legends say. You can't force people to fight for you, Jake said. Can't I? Kiva gestured to her guards, who raised their weapons. You will all fight in my tournament, and the winner will join my fleet willingly or they will join it as a prisoner. The choice is yours. The competitors looked at the armed guards surrounding them. They were outnumbered and trapped. However, Kiva continued, I am not unreasonable. I will make you all a deal. If you can defeat my champions in combat, I will release you all, including the human. And if we lose? Vera asked. Then you will all serve in my army, starting with the invasion of Earth. Jake felt his heart pounding. This was it, their only chance. We accept, he said quickly before anyone could argue. Kiva smiled coldly. Excellent, but there is one more condition. The human must fight alongside you. If any member of your group falls, you all lose. The competitors stared at Jake. He was not a warrior like them. He had no special powers or enhanced strength. In a real fight, he would be their weakest link. I can handle myself, Jake said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Zara laughed, but it was not a mean laugh. You have spirit, little human. We will keep you alive. We fight together, Luna said, her leaves rustling with determination. Together, the others agreed. They were led into the arena. The crowd roared when they saw the 13 fighters enter as a group. This was not how the tournament was supposed to work, but it made for better entertainment. Empress Kiva's voice echoed across the arena through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, a special challenge. Our competitors have chosen to face my Imperial champions as a unified force. 12 new fighters entered the arena from the opposite side. These were different from the tournament competitors. They moved like soldiers with matching armor and weapons. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks. My champions have never lost a battle, Kiva announced. They represent the finest warriors in my empire. If our competitors can defeat them, they will earn their freedom. The two groups faced each other across the arena floor. Jake stood in the middle of his group, feeling very small and very human. Stay close to us, Vera whispered. We will protect you. No, Jake said suddenly. That's not how we win this. What do you mean? Zara asked. Jake looked at the Imperial champions. They were standing in perfect formation, like a military unit. They're fighting like an army, disciplined, organized, following orders. So, we fight like something they've never seen before. We fight like friends. The battle began with a sound like thunder. The Imperial champions attacked in perfect coordination, their movements synchronized like a machine. But Jake's group fought differently. They improvised, adapted, and covered for each other in ways the champions could not predict. Zara's raw strength combined with Luna's technical skills. Vera's combat experience guided Nova's energy attacks. And in the center of it all was Jake, not fighting like a warrior but thinking like a human. He saw patterns the others missed. He spotted weaknesses in the champions' formation. He called out warnings and suggestions that helped his friends stay one step ahead. The Imperial champions were skilled, but they had been trained to follow orders, not to think for themselves. When their careful plans fell apart, they struggled to adapt. One by one, the champions fell. The crowd was going wild. They had never seen anything like this cooperative fighting style. Finally, only one Imperial champion remained, facing all 13 of Jake's group. The masked warrior looked around at his fallen comrades, then dropped his weapons. "I surrender," he said, pulling off his helmet to reveal a young alien face. "I will not fight alone against such unity." The crowd exploded with cheers. Even the beings who had bet against Jake's group seemed impressed by what they had witnessed. Empress Kiva stood in her viewing box, her silver face twisted with rage. "This is not over," she shouted. "My fleet will still launch, Earth will still fall." But her words were being broadcast across the galaxy. Every being in the arena, and billions more watching from their home worlds, heard her admit to planning an unprovoked invasion. "Did she just confess to planning a war?" Someone in the crowd shouted. "She's been using the tournament to build an invasion army," someone else yelled. The crowd began to turn ugly. Beings who had come to watch entertainment were now angry about being used to support a war they knew nothing about. Jake stepped forward, and his voice somehow carried across the arena. "Empress Kiva has been lying to all of you. She's been using these tournaments to recruit fighters for her invasion fleet. Earth is just the first target. How many of your worlds are on her list?" The crowd's anger erupted into a roar of rage. In the viewing boxes, Jake could see representatives from different worlds talking urgently into communication devices. The word was spreading across the galaxy. Kiva's guards moved to arrest Jake's group, but the crowd was already pouring onto the arena floor. Beings from 100 different worlds surrounded the small group of friends, protecting them from Kiva's. "Soldiers, you have made a terrible mistake, human," Kiva snarled as her guards retreated. "You think you have won, but you have only delayed the inevitable." "Maybe," Jake said. "But now the whole galaxy knows what you're planning, and humans aren't the only ones who know how to work together when they're threatened." Over the next few days, everything changed. World after world declared that they would not allow Kiva's invasion fleet to launch. Her own military commanders began to question her orders. The tournament competitors, now famous across the galaxy as the Unity 13, became ambassadors for peaceful cooperation between species. Jake's ship, the Lucky Strike, was repaired and upgraded with the most advanced technology the galaxy had to offer, but more importantly, he was no longer alone. Luna decided to travel with him, wanting to study human engineering techniques. Vera joined them, curious about Earth's fighting traditions. Even Zara came along, claiming that Jake still owed her a proper fight. When they finally reached Earth, Jake had to file the strangest cargo report in history. "Delivery delayed due to accidentally preventing galactic invasion," he wrote. "Request hazard pay. Also, please prepare for new trade agreements with approximately 50 alien civilizations." The cargo company was not sure what to make of the HFY report. But when alien ships started arriving with gifts and trade proposals, they decided Jake deserved a promotion. Jake Martinez had left Earth as a simple cargo pilot. He returned as humanity's first galactic ambassador, with friends from across the stars and stories that would be told for generations. But the best part was knowing that Earth was safe, and that humans had finally taken their place among the galactic community. Not as prizes to be won, but as friends to be treasured. As Jake sat in his favorite diner back home in Texas, eating breakfast and reading news reports about humanity's first contact with alien civilizations, he smiled. The waitress asked him if he wanted more coffee. "Sure," Jake said. "And